Hi there, I'm Lillian Sparks, and I am a hospice chaplain and a bereavement coordinator. And this is our second session for us to be together, and we are talking about how to hang on to hope even when you've been through a devastating loss. The question you can ask yourself is this: is there life after loss? We want to talk about grief today because whenever you face a loss, you experience grief. It's a natural and normal reaction to loss. And you have to go through the journey of grief to be able to heal. When you think about your life, all the way from when you were a child up until now, you've actually been through all kinds of losses in your life. We mentioned last time in the first session that think about your first loss, which could have been the death of a pet, perhaps that cute little goldfish that stopped swimming and was floating on the top, and so your mom had to flush him down the toilet, or a favorite pet that you loved, a dog or a cat. I remember when we lost our dog Higgins, we had a huge funeral in the backyard. And we even read poems and made tributes and put up a little cross and talked about how much Higgins meant to us and to our children. Perhaps you've even lost a friend who you counted on, but all of a sudden it didn't turn out like you thought. And now you've lost that friendship. Another loss can be a miscarriage or being not able to have a child, and getting that news can be devastating. Another very poignant loss is a divorce or a separation in your family. If it happens to you as a child, it probably has impacted you significantly. If you're the one walking through divorce, it can be a very difficult time for you. Learning that you have a disability and your life is forever changed, or going to the doctor for a routine visit and finding out that you have a diagnosis that is going to change your life. There can be many different losses: a loss of a job or career, a loss of a dream that you had. And also, the greatest loss is the loss of a loved one. And so think about those losses that you've had in your life, whether they were just small or if they were even like moving from your favorite home or community. It could be a very difficult loss. And our life is filled with goodbyes and hellos. And perhaps saying goodbye to someone we love is one of the most difficult parts of grief. Think about how your life is filled with hellos and goodbye. For instance, you can't say hello to that newborn baby that you hold in your arms if you don't say goodbye to pregnancy. And if you're a young person, you can't say goodbye to your home and your family if you're going to move away to college and you're saying hello to college life. When you graduate, finally, after 4 years or 8 years, you're going to say goodbye to your college life, and you're going to say hello to a work life and a new routine and responsibilities. So you see, all through life, we have hellos and goodbyes. But saying goodbye to someone we love is perhaps the most difficult one that we will ever go through. Realize that you have suffered one of the greatest losses someone can experience. And your life feels like it's turned upside down. It feels like maybe your arm or leg was cut off and a part of you is missing. That's a very real and human response to grieve like that over a loss. Sometimes people feel like they're pressured to be able to grieve, and they may feel that it's even a sign of weakness, but it is not. Grieving is the hardest work you will ever do. Nothing could be farther from the truth. Grief is normal, it's natural, and it's necessary. I like to call these the 3 N's of grief. Grief is normal because that's how people respond to a significant loss. It's normal to expect people who've lost someone to be deeply affected by that loss. Grief is natural because that's how God created us. We can't avoid it. It was built into us, just as we were created We were created to love and to have relationships and to respond. It's all part of the journey of life. Grief is necessary if you want to be healthy and go on with your life, to be able to cope with that loss and find a new normal, which sometimes feels like, will that ever happen again? Yes, grief is necessary to be able to get to that healthy part of yourself where you find a new life that awaits in the future. So, thinking about grief today, how do we define it? Do we give grief a name? How do we talk about it? It's one of life's most amazing moments when we have to say goodbye to that part of our life. Sometimes it can be filled with pain and confusion. We might ask ourselves, can my husband feel the same pain I do when I'm saying goodbye to an unborn child? Or can I ever hope to understand what he's feeling after he was asked to retire early from working at a job that he loved and was a part of his life for 35 years? Do I understand? Will my children be able to comprehend and understand why we had to get a divorce? And these are the questions you might ask yourself. And you might say, will my life ever be normal? Will I ever be able to be happy again? And the answer is yes, but you must go through the journey of grief. It's almost impossible to find one definition of grief with so many variables that come into the situation. For instance, grief can all share these common things. We all feel hurt. We feel loss of identity. We sometimes have disbelief that this is really happening to us. We will feel symptoms of emotional and spiritual stress in our life, as well as we all need time, that word, T-I-M-E, that time to heal. And no one can tell you how long that will take. There's no certain stages or model or anything for you to go through. I remember after 21 years of taking care of a severely handicapped child, that our son finally passed away and went to be with the Lord. And for 21 years, I had done bandages and treatments every morning and night, sometimes for 2 and 3 hours a day, for 21 and a half years. And all of a sudden, that wasn't a part of my life anymore. I began to ask myself this question, who am I now? I had been Brian's mother, but now he didn't need me anymore. He was whole and healed, and he was in heaven. But here I was. Who was Lillian Sparks now? And we ask ourselves that question. And as we go through life, growing and learning and changing, we are constantly shifting and strengthening who our personal definition is. This is an expected part of life. And we just need to know that as we go through grief, we are going to redefine who we are. Just know that God has a purpose and a plan for your life. And as Brian used to say to me all the time, God makes no mistakes. And he hasn't made a mistake for you. And this was part of his plan. And now it's our journey to get through the hardest work we will ever do and come out on the other side. Just remember, his faithfulness is new every morning. Psalm 30 verse 5 says, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Don't forget that this season won't last forever, but God will be there with you through the night. And someday soon, the morning will break, the sun will rise again, and you will have hope in your life. Thank you for joining us.